Welcome to another frequently asked questions session. And this time we're going to look at what you do not need for an EHCP application. Now, EHCNA.
Needs application. Okay. So, local authorities, and I sit on the fence here a little bit because I get it from the SENCO perspective and I get it from the local authority perspective. They tend to put some little barriers in our way, little hoops we have to jump through. And while some of them might be irritating and annoying, there has got to be some form of gatekeeping. Otherwise, you might as well assess every single child. Okay. However, some of those things are not legally required. So one thing that you do not need, and can I repeat that? You do not need to have spent a certain amount of money before you put in that application.
What? No £6,000?
No £6,000. Not even £6,000 and a penny.
What about £5,999?
Nope.
£4,000?
Nope.
£1,000?
Nope.
£10.50?
Nope.
So you don't need to have spent anything before you put that in?
Legally, no. However, go back to the definition. So we put in an EHC application if we believe the child has a special educational need and requires special educational provision in order to meet that need that is above and beyond what everybody else gets. There is an implication there that that special educational provision will cost money. Now, we have what we call the notional budget. We consider, the definition of that notional budget is £6,000. I'm not even going to go into that in this video, but that's an arbitrary figure. It's a notional figure that is used, but you don't have to hit that threshold. It might only be costing me £2,500 to put that provision in because everything else that's alongside it is either free or it's part of Quality First Teaching or it's already in place across that school. It doesn't have to meet a monetary value in order to put the application in. So you can't use, I'm not spending £6,000 as a reason for not putting the application in.
No, because why would you when you then can't meet the needs of the child? It just doesn't make sense.
Exactly. But if I sit on the other side of the fence from the local authority perspective, I kind of have to sit there and go, well, hold on a minute. If you're not spending any money at all on this child, how can you say to me that they need a plan? You can't use the plan as a reason to get more money. You have to put the package in to be able to evidence that you need it.
Where does the £6,000 figure come from?
Okay, so there is a difference between what we call bum on seat money or average weighted pupil unit, AWPU. In a mainstream school, it's generally considered to be about £4,000. It actually varies according to the phase and the age of the child. So it can be as low as about £2,500. But we consider it to be about £4,000. If that same child took a bum on a seat in a special school, that figure is £10,000. Now, it doesn't take a genius mathematician, and you don't even need to take your socks and shoes off for this, but 10 minus 4 leaves us with 6.
Okay.
So that £6,000 is the difference between putting the bum on the seat in a mainstream school and putting that same bum on a seat in a special school.
Yeah, but mainstream schools aren't special schools.
No, they're not.
So why would a mainstream school then decide I've got to put an extra £6,000 in for it? And it hasn't got the money to be able to do that.
Because they get that, they do get funding for special education needs. And because we have to remember it's parental choice. So parents may say, yes, okay, my child has special educational needs, quite significant special educational needs, quite complex special educational needs, but it is my right to have my child educated in a mainstream school.
Okay.
Therefore, we have to be able to put that money in and support that child. But that's where that value of the 6,000 originally came from. It's the difference between that original bum on seat and the special school bum on seat. It isn't really £6,000 though. It doesn't. doesn't actually exist. It's just a notional value.
Well, what else don't we need for an EHCP application?
Okay, we also do not need reports. Okay, and I'm going to caveat that slightly in a moment, but sometimes the local authority will say, where's your education psychologist report when you put the application in? Actually, that's their job to commission that as part of the needs assessment. Again, if I hop over the fence into the local authority side, I can see why they say that, because you are saying, I've got a child here who has a special educational need for which I need special educational provision, and I've run out of ideas and strategies to use with him, and I need something more. I'm going to put in a needs application. Instantly, as a local authority, I'm thinking, well, why haven't you engaged your local authority services? Why haven't you engaged an education psychologist, a speech and language therapist, an occupational therapist, your behaviour team? Why have those people not been involved? Because actually, if we put that early help in, that early advice, that early intervention, maybe we wouldn't have got to the point where we need an EHC needs application, because we might have addressed some of the issues. That said, you don't need those reports to put the application in. And can we just say that a private report has to be honoured by the local authority, provided that person is appropriately registered and an appropriate professional. So, yeah, I can come and write you a psychology report, but I'm not registered with the HCPC, so you wouldn't be able to use it. My friend Elaine, she is an education psychologist. She is registered with the HCPC. She can write you a report. You could include that in the assessment pack or whatever the local authority asks you to do. And they then have to use it. They can't ignore it. They can't say, oh, no, you've got to pay for our report or anything else like that. They have to honour it. So a lot of local authorities have moved to traded services.
Right.
Plus the fact we have to remember that a lot of schools now are not part of their local authority, they're part of multi-academy trusts. So they have to buy the services from the local authority. And that sometimes means that schools haven't got that instant access to an education psychologist or behaviour support team. I can think of local authorities, certainly our local area, you have to buy into those traded services. So I might get 16 hours of EP support, education psychologist support in a year. I have to prioritise my list of students. And the flip side of that is the fact there aren't enough education psychologists, so the only work they're undertaking is annual assessments and reviews and all the rest of it. So they're not actually giving us any advice anyway, which is another problem. But is that, okay, I've got to spend money to get money sometimes. It goes back to a business model, if you like, which is not what education should be. But again, and I keep saying it, I am for the SENCOs. I am a SENCO. I sit with the SENCOs, but I do see it from the local authority perspective. If you haven't engaged the expert in that child, how do you know that what you've just been trying to deliver over the last 6 months is actually effective for them and is appropriate for that child? So what have you been doing beforehand? You can't just go, oh yeah, Fred's turned up, Fred's struggling, he's not doing very well, we'll do a bit of toe by toe with him. Oh, he's not making progress on toe by toe, we'll do an EHC application. It doesn't work like that. There's got to have been something more robust.
Okay. And that's the end of that one there, I think, because I have no more questions.
Good.
If anybody has a question, though, you can put it in the comments section below. We'll make another video. It's a frequently asked questions video.